Hey, greetings, friend, and welcome to this week's NGM Focus video. Now, this week and the next few weeks are going to have this different look, and here's the different look. We're going to have the content based on questions that you have that you provide to me. This week's question comes to us from Matt McClay, student pastor at Lewis Memorial Baptist Church in Huntington, West Virginia.
Hey, Dr. Rich, I'd like to ask a question about how to match up students with leaders. We're blessed to have quite a few students in our youth ministry and an awesome team of youth leaders. But how do you find the best way to pair a student with a leader to be discipled? And when a student walks through the door, how do you make sure they feel welcome and they have an on-ramp to be able to be personally invested in, cared for, known by name by a leader? I'm looking forward to hearing your response and your answer to this question. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. That is a really good question. And I wrote down some notes as I was listening to your video. You were asking us about how do we pair students with adults and adults with their students. I heard kind of two questions in one. You asked about discipleship groups and how do we line that up? And honestly, that's such a huge topic and so deep that I'm going to actually move that part of it aside, okay? And focus on the back end of your question, which was, when a student enters your meeting, how do you make them feel welcomed and have an on-ramp to be cared for and known by name? Let's drill down on that one. Before I do, I'm going to quote one of my favorite theologians. His name is Russell Wilson. He's the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. During the 2013 season, when the Seahawks went and just ran the table, won the Super Bowl that next January against the Broncos, Russell was saying this phrase a lot. The separation is in the preparation. The separation is in the preparation. What separates good from great is in how do you prepare ahead of time. Now, he's thinking, of course, on the football field, but how about ministry? So as we're thinking about how does a new student named Zach, for example, fit into our ministry, that needs to be thought through before we have the event on that weekend or the Wednesday night gathering. So I got three things I wrote down really quick that deal with the separation and the preparation. One, have a welcoming attitude. Having a welcoming attitude needs to permeate your ministry even before the gathering takes place. That's already in your student ministry DNA. We're a ministry, not a group. We will welcome new people. We will embrace them and value them. Second, students are the players. I've said that so many times in these different videos, and I'll continue to say it because I believe it. Our job is to equip the saints for them to do the ministry. The students are the players. Adults can only do so much. Now, what I'm going to say next, you may push back, and I'm actually okay with that, but please think about it. Acceptance or rejection by peers is much bigger than acceptance or rejection by the adults. Zach comes in, all the adults are nice to him. They're gracious, they're kind, they're courteous, they make him feel so at home. But the other students don't make him feel that way. Zach's not coming back next week. So number three, I do believe the adults have more of a depth role, whereas students have more of a broad role when it comes to connection. So I'm not saying we give up on the adults ministering. The initial engagement is going to be students. But the long game, the long-term results are much more significant with connections with adults. Now, Matt, and all of us, we're looking at our Wednesday night. That's maybe more of our outreach night. It's a weekly gathering, or maybe it's the weekend meeting, right? So let's take our time we gather together for that big outreach event. Questions I'm going to ask you to think through is this. At the beginning of the gathering, I have 5 things. Who's out front greeting? I want to have adults and students for many reasons, but I want to have adults and students out front. So who's out front greeting? That's huge. It shouldn't be dark. It shouldn't be just a blank canvas out there. Let's be honest. For most of us, 6 to 7 or 8 months of our school year is dark when our students arrive for our Wednesday night meetings. So make sure it's well lit. There's both teenagers and adults. When Zach's parents drop him off, they see adults. They feel good about that. Zach feels students. He feels good about that. That's the first connection. Then you have them go down the ramp or wherever they're going up into the door to go in the building. Right away, there should be that gathering place, your check-in table, registration table, whatever you call it. Kiosks, filling out cards, whatever your MO is. Okay, right there you have students and adults for the same principles. Connection, maybe the parent walks in, Zach's parent maybe walks in with him. Many times it happens, especially if he's new, especially if he's by himself. They want to make sure he's going to be okay. That's where it's cool to have adults there. But you also have students there. What's going on during checkout, that's later on, during the check-in time is I would want you also to have students who are hosts, who are behind the table, who are ready and equipped to just what a host would do. When the student is checking in, that newbie, if you will, that their hosts are saying, hey, come with me, I want to show you around. And they're finding out things about them, like what school they go to. Do they know anybody who's already here at the ministry? And they're helping them acclimate and introducing them to other people. Because I believe this, the first few moments are crucial for that student, like any of us as adults. The first 5 to 10 minutes you visit a new church, you move to a new area, just think about that. In the first few minutes, you've already made up your mind. I'm not coming back here, or I am coming back here. Matter of fact, you could have the most amazing pastor preaching and such a gifted speaker of the Word of God, but people who are visiting have already made up their mind based on how they were greeted. So that's to be thought through. First few moments are crucial. If a guest is by himself or herself, have them connect with someone immediately. Okay? If a guest is with a friend, hopefully your student, their friend, your student, is socially mature enough to realize, I need to be taking my friend around, Zach, and showing him around and getting him to know people. During the event, each adult needs to have a role. For me, I was big on 2 columns, the shepherd side and the support side. Everyone has a role. I didn't want adults there just to come hang out and be Nazis, for whatever, just kind of like watch the youth ministry. I don't need that. I want people who are on point, who are willing to work and work hard. Let's take the support side. The support leaders, their role are more task-oriented, whether it's refreshments, worship band, etc. Their job while they're there is to be task-oriented. Shepherds are more relational-oriented. They're focusing on the high level of relationships. However, everyone needs to be on this plane. Function and friendly. While you're doing your function, be friendly. While you're checking people in, while you're serving them food, be friendly. And shepherds, while you're being friendly, also be functional and do your job. Do both. Let's go through the night. First thing that we usually do is kind of a mixer game, a floor game, whatever. Engagement time. Adults should be engaged. There are sometimes you want your adults like on the floor doing a floor game. There are sometimes you don't. But at all times, adults should be involved. They're on track with what's going on with that game. And they're championing and they're cheerleading the students. The adults are not against the wall doing their own thing. You got life groups for that, adults. Okay? Your time here is to champion and lift up and promote relationships with students. Okay? Refreshments. We all have them. It's not just because students are hungry. We build in refreshment time for the following. It's a healthy interaction. Well, hopefully it's healthy, but maybe it's not, but it's an interaction time. It's a time to interact. Refreshments. During the refreshments time is a great opportunity for your adults to mingle around. Things are slowing down a little bit, to mingle around and make sure all adults are meeting all new students. All adults are meeting all new students, introducing themselves. Is there anything we can do to help you? Do you know anybody here? We're so glad you're here. What school you go to? Not to play 50 questions with them, but you're just simply in a very socially mature way with good EQ, trying to help them feel like they're at home. That's taking place during the refreshment time. You go to your meeting time. Adults, all adults, unless your task has you doing something else, all adults should be sitting with the students. I would go down that road much more, but I'm trying to keep these videos shorter. Adults, get off the back wall, sit with students. While the Spirit of God is doing His work, as the Word of God is being preached, you are in close proximity to to see what God is doing, you are in close proximity to have conversations afterwards because you've been with them. After our meeting times, we usually do group breakout times. It's 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm a big fan of this for this basic reason. It gets students to really be known by name. So all of a sudden, the big group, Matt, you said you have 90 to 100 students, I think, when we talked on the phone. All of a sudden, it breaks it down. I like a 1-to-5, 1-to-6 ratio. So right there, you've got that time to engage in like reviewing the lesson, also asking some application questions, obviously with a new person, never making them feel awkward, but making sure they feel welcomed. That's a huge place for everybody to be known. Now, how do you break a group down? Typically, most of us do it same grade, same gender. It's kind of quick, it's easy. It's a simple way to assimilate. But let's say that you have a 9th grade guy brings a friend of his. It's not a girlfriend, but it's a friend who's a girl, right? And she's in 10th grade. So how do you do that? I think it's very simple. If this girl, Ellie, is in 10th grade and she's new, she came with her friend Pete, right? Ellie is in 10th grade. So hopefully there's been enough leaders to meet her that the word is out as adults are working together that we need to make sure Ellie fits in with that 10th grade leader. So that 10th grade leader should have already met Ellie, realizing she's not going to go to 9th grade Zach's, or Pete's group, because she's already, who'd you come with? I came with Pete. So hopefully leaders are already astute on this. And she's now helping her 10th grade girls meet Ellie so she can go to that group, have a conversation. So even if Ellie and Pete's, even though it's a non-romantic relationship, even though the friendship may kind of go wonky, she now also has friends, or at least people she knows her age. All right, so much on this, isn't there? Post-event, thank that student for coming and invite them back. If all leaders did that on the way out, thank the students for coming, hope they come back. Follow up with a student is big, especially from the student that brought them. Now, I've been mentioning about a student who comes in kind of cold turkey, that comes in by her himself, but that's usually not the case. Most students come with a friend. So you're getting your friend to make sure that they are saying thank you. And then what you're doing, your job leader, asking your student, how did your friend like things? Did your friend feel welcome? Did your friend feel at home? You may send out your student pastor letter, but how about this one? You give all your leaders postcards in advance. You have them printed off. Maybe it's your ministry logo, whatever, but you have postcards. The reason I say postcards is so when the adult writes the note on the postcard, it's old school, goes in the mail. The parent of that young person who visited sees and reads the postcard. That's a big win. And that student also sees it. So maybe you have it all worked out where even before all the adult leaders leave that night, you give them postcards to write out, hey, Ellie, thanks for coming. Loved meeting you. Hope to see you again, Janie. And then we, youth pastors, mail them out the next morning. Wrap this up. I think there's 5 points of touch I want to hit on. 5 points of touch. One is the friend that brought them. Again, most students come with a friend. So let's assume there's a friend that brought them. That friend is the first point of touch. Second, other students. Whether it's at the beginning of the greeting area, the hosts, students are huge to make sure these new students feel welcome. Third, leaders throughout the night. So leaders throughout the night are making that student feel welcome. Fourth, the specific leader to that breakout group is huge. Fifth, student pastor and all who get on the stage, get this, meet those students before you get on the stage. So when you get on the stage, they already feel the sense of, hey, I met the drummer. Hey, I met that bass. Hey, I met that singer. Hey, I met that guy that talks. They already feel this sense of connection with you. Matt and friends, I hope that helps. And if you have any questions, email me at rich@nextgenmatters.com. And the next few weeks, we're doing this, where we're taking your questions and we're going to be kind of like, I'll do my best to answer your questions. All right. God bless you guys. Have a great week.